Hey guys, and welcome to Adobe Live. I'm your host today. I'm Flyn Tracy, and I'm joined by artist and illustrator Jeremy Lord.
Hey Flynn, hey everybody. I'm really excited to be here today and tomorrow and the day after.
That's right.
I think. Yeah.
That's right. We've got like 4.5 hours of illustration, artistic, drawing of rats.
This face.
Yeah, this is it. This is us. So thank you for joining. For those of you in chat, say hi. We're streaming from Sydney. We'd love to know where you're all from. Like to find out where people are all around the world. And we thought we might just bring up the schedule so we can be super clear on what we're doing. So actually going live today, tomorrow, and the next day. So we'll have a quick little snapshot here. So it's 1:30 here in Sydney, and we're creating a manga character with Jeremy Lord, guy next to me right now. At 3 o'clock, we'll be illustrating for the Lunar New Year with Joy Lee. Jeremy's back for part 2, and then tomorrow we've got Bill Hope as well. And Jeremy's actually coming in on Friday. Not on the schedule, but that is definitely happening. So very exciting. We hope you can join us. Stick around, ask questions in chat. As we go, we might also take a break and do a big chunk of questions.
Yeah.
People are asking you like, what's the meaning of life, Jeremy?
Yeah.
We might just take a pause and have a bit of a think about
Not
it.
test my multitasking skills too
Right.
much.
Yeah.
Sure.
Exactly. So it's great to be here. So maybe we can hand over to Jeremy and have a bit of a chat about kind of what we sort of together came up with.
Yeah. So, I'll chat a little bit about my work in a sec.
Yeah.
But I thought, because usually what we do is I'll come on for an hour and just kind of go from start to finish, which is not really the start and then not really the finish either.
Right.
So it's a little bit of a truncated view of this is 70% of my workflow.
Right.
So I think for this one, I thought it would be really cool to show 100% of my workflow, or 95% of my workflow for time purposes. So you guys gave me a brief, which was Chinese New Year, Year of the Rat.
Year of the Rat.
And basically, beyond doing some basic research into looking into Chinese lanterns or what's the kanji for rat, all that kind of stuff, I have prepared nothing.
Nice.
So literally, this is just going to be blank page. Let's go sketching. I'm going to talk a little bit about ideation, a bit about referencing.
Yeah.
And then we'll see where we go today. And then hopefully the plan is today sketch, tomorrow inking and maybe some color, and then day 3 finalizing and exporting and outputting. So yeah, should be good. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, it will work out. I have nothing but full faith in you. It's very good. But that's a good thing about being live. We'll just figure it out. We'll figure it out together.
Yeah.
Super cool.
Yeah, so I'm an illustrator. I'm a freelance illustrator. I've been doing it for about 15 years.
Yep.
What my work kind of revolves around, which is why today I thought I might do a bit of a manga character, is I'm very influenced by manga, obviously, Japanese culture, and I'm an 80s child, so I kind of put all that into a NutriBullet and just whiz it up and see what comes out. The nice thing about it is it just allows me a little bit of some pieces are full 80s, others are full Japanese, others are full manga. So on my Behance, if you guys go on my Behance, it's just under Jeremy Lord. You'll see my work there. You'll see that there are pieces that are very much just kind of full on manga influence. So this is a job for a Japanese bar, funnily enough, in Surrey Hills called Goro's. And it's basically just pure manga aside from a little bit of color. I do love my color. And then, the other pieces that are very kind of cyberpunk, very 80s, all that kind of jazz. So today I'm just going to do, again, same thing. We'll put all those ingredients in varying levels into the blender and see what happens.
It's not sponsored by NutriBullet, by the way, but it's a very effective blender.
Yeah.
Very cool. So it's like a slight departure away, switching continent. We're going to more Chinese focus. Not too far. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I've done less research into sort of Chinese meanings and symbology. So please forgive me if there's anything that's wrong today. But yeah, we'll keep it pretty simple.
Yeah.
And there'll be a little bit of creative license as well, which is always kind of how I like to work, yeah.
Damn right, yeah. Hey Festus, good to see you. Happy 2020. And hey Chad in the chat as well. Yeah, so please say hi and ask questions as we go.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right, well,
where does one start?
All right, so one starts basically, as you guys can maybe not really see too much, what I've done is I've literally just gone in and just gone into Google Images and just found a whole bunch of images of stuff that I think that maybe will go in there. Some of them will, some of them won't. But this is just sort of for me to get some reference into sort of basically, I guess, Chinese visual language. And some of this might be incredibly stereotypical.
Right.
Of like, you know, there's more to Chinese culture than lanterns.
Right.
Absolutely, I get that. But when you're working visually, I think with these kind of things as well, it's really good to be able to put in things that most people are going to identify with that. Like the roof of a pagoda, for instance, is an instant symbol of China, Japan, that kind of stuff. A samurai sword is going to let people know what's happening there, even though that's quite stereotypical. You kind of have to work with those stereotypes a little bit when you're doing illustration so that people get the cues and references that you're putting into that artwork. So things like this, obviously trying to get the kanji for the rat because it's the year of the rat. And yeah, just finding a bunch of different visual language that makes people look at this and go like, oh, I'm getting a Chinese flavor out of this.
Right.
Maybe I know where that's coming from. Maybe I don't know where that's coming from. But yeah, that's the balance that kind of needs to be struck. So I would literally just kind of start with the brief that you gave me, which is Chinese New Year, and then do some research into that. And then pretty quickly, I think I'll start to just get in to do some ideation. All right. So for better or for worse, I tend to just go straight into Photoshop to do my sketches.
Right.
I say for better or for worse because I'm classically trained. I went to an art school, fine art school, graphic design school in Paris. I'm half French. And they really kind of instilled on us this idea of like, you know, get the charcoal on your hands and on your face. And
this is just in case any of your teachers are watching.
Yeah, possibly. They probably won't understand what I'm saying, but it's all good. So there is a bit of nostalgia in me of like, oh, I wish I could do this in an actual sketchbook and stuff. But doing sketches in Photoshop is just so much faster, so much easier. So usually I'll probably end up doing this, and then we'll go into inking and stuff over there.
So it is just a speed thing?
It's a convenience and speed thing. Yeah, totally. Yeah, so my sketchbook kind of sits on my desk forlornly waving at me.
Just holding up your monitor?
Yeah, exactly. So let's get kind of stuck in. I'll usually just create a new layer just because it's Photoshop, so...
First one's locked.
Layers, yep. There's nothing worse than kind of doing a really cool drawing, even though it might just be a sketch, and like I really want to use that now, but I can't pick it off the background, so just new layer, just in case. Right. Who knows? And then, so I'll just kind of start drawing with a basic idea, but what I'll do here is, because usually, like, especially on a big surface like this, it's really something that you got to get your whole arm into. So one of the things that I do is to kind of warm up my hand. It's a little bit like a singer kind of warming up their voice. All right. Is I'll literally do, not that.
Just spin the paper around in circles.
I'll do just a bunch of ellipses. Ellipses are one of the hardest things, and you can kind of see that they're all a little bit kind of pudgy and flat here. But it's just a really good way to kind of like shake the cobwebs off of your wrist and arm. And just kind of get warmed up a little bit. I won't always do this, but if I haven't been drawing for a while and I'm going to get into something a little bit more intensive, it's nice to just kind of, like I said, like shake those cobwebs off. Yeah. And then obviously I can just zap that, make a new layer, and then we can kind of start doing things. So I haven't brought it in today. I'm going to be drawing something around, I want to draw a character, obviously, and I want to make her, basically, she is the rat. She's Rat Girl, I guess. Girl. Yeah. Is that a comic book character? I know there's Squirrel Girl.
Squirrel Girl's, Marvel.
Yeah. Let's have to see. Maybe there is a Rat Girl. But anyway,
I'm sure there's a Rat Girl out there somewhere, for sure. If there's not, then you're watching it. This is it.
So I want it to be kind of a female character. So we're going to start, obviously, with the human body. It's one of the most fun things to draw. It's also one of the hardest things to draw. I think a lot of artists will testify to the fact that hands are usually the most common form of kryptonite for artists.
Right.
Feet can be pretty tough and faces can be pretty hard, but hands are really kind of full on. So what we're going to do here is we're not going to get stuck into the details. We want to kind of start getting pretty loose and just going in and doing basic kind of shapes. So I'm not too sure what I'm going to be doing yet, but I'm not too fast. I'm literally just drawing kind of stick figure, and again, kind of use the space that you've got to do what you're doing. And I'm worried about mistakes. I shouldn't be worried about mistakes at this stage because literally I'm just doing kind of stick figures and I need to be a bit faster. So yeah, I don't know, it looks like she's been kind of kicked in the back there, so that's not super great.
She's waiting for a bus and then she got splashed by a puddle, I think.
And she's tripped on something.
So,
So again, yeah, I'll literally just kind of mess around a bunch of stuff and see what happens with my sketch. What I was talking about before is I haven't brought it in. I've got a little kind of posable figurine.
Oh, the little figurine.
Yeah. You can find those basically online. They don't cost heaps, but don't go for the wooden ones that you see in places, like the classic wooden ones that you see in drawing studios and all that. Mostly because like they're fine, but they're not necessarily the best kind of thing. I just use a special kind of like Manga one, and I'll usually just pose that, take a photo of it, bring the photo in, and then use that as a reference to get the pose right.
Why do you take a photo of it instead of like having it on the desk and then drawing it from there? Is it because you're drawing something 3D? Yeah.
Convenience. Also, like I've got a cat, and yeah. Say no more.
Yeah.
So yeah, in case she comes over and knocks it over, it's just like.
Does the figurine just have like bite marks all over it?
No.
Not yet.
Not that I haven't noticed. Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, again, just like messing around. Maybe I can just kind of do her like riding a big rat or something. And again, like all these drawings are pretty horrible, but it's literally just thinking about a composition and just blocking out main shapes. Like there's everything wrong about this. Like that one, she's got a broken neck. This one, her leg is too short. But at this stage...
Man, it's been a rough day.
Yeah. At this stage, I'm not too worried about that simply because I'm just working out the finer details here. If I spend a long time trying to fix the things and then realize that something's wrong, it's just wasted time.
Right.
So really important, I think, at these stages to not get bogged down into details and just go for it. And it's a real kind of discipline as well to have to not get too stuck into all those details.
Right.
But yeah, very, very necessary. I think I always kind of think about it like, maybe I'll throw in a moon in here. I always kind of think about it in terms of, like, it's like building a house, right? You get the framework down first, and then once that framework is set and you know it's going to hold up and it's straight and horizontal, vertical, all that, then you build the walls, then you build in the plumbing and the electricity and all that, and then you come in and pick a couch and the curtains and all that. You don't build your bathroom and then decorate the whole thing and then you just got a bathroom in an empty field and then move on to the next room. So this is a little bit like that. If you're just kind of going to sit there and focus in on the face and draw every single little detail of the face and then move to the next bit, that's bad.
Right.
It's also going to be one of those things where you're going to be reluctant to fix stuff, right? Like, so let's say, for instance, that I've drawn this leg and like fleshed it out a little bit more, and it's amazing. It's like the best leg I've ever drawn in my life. Right? But I've also drawn the face and all the rest of it, and this leg is too short. I'm going to be reluctant to erase it because I really like it. I'm kind of wedded to it. And it's an expression that we use, which is called murdering your darlings.
Oh, wow.
You have to do it.
So tragic.
Yeah.
It's very French of you.
A little bit, but essentially, like, this leg is now your darling, and you don't want to get rid of it, but you have to because it's just wrong.
Yeah.
And so you just got to do it. So to avoid that kind of heartbreak and disappointment, you do loose things, and then fixing the leg is just a matter of redrawing the stick figure to make it a little bit bigger, and then you do it. Right? Okay. So you get the framework down, and then we worry about kind of how it's all going to look.
Yeah. So the device has come up inevitably. Fess was saying, look, the surface looks huge and awesome. It is huge. It's not just camera work. It's very big.
I'm a normal-sized human being.
Yeah. We're just really tiny. But yeah, he said, how's the glass for drawing, like in terms of...
it's actually really good.
Yeah.
So I would equate it to kind of... The iPad is a similar kind of surface to this. But there's different nibs that go into this pen. Some of them are a little bit more slippy. They're just kind of raw plastic and they slide around quite a bit. Others are made of rubber and they grip a little bit more if you're kind of looking for a little bit more control, a little bit kind of less ice skating. So yeah, it feels really, really good. I've used one of these, which is just kind of like a 2-finger glove, because it's super stylish and why wouldn't I?
I was going to say, did you wear that on the bus on the way over here?
I did, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I got no looks.
No looks.
No looks whatsoever.
What's the point? It's fashion, people.
No, I use this every device that you can get nowadays has what we call palm rejection,
right?
Which is like they're all touch, so you can see me kind of using my fingers to rotate and zoom and all that kind of jazz. What they used to not be able to do is like your palm would actually do the same thing and draw and move the thing around. Now they can kind of discern that. So it's not for that. It's just because Sydney gets pretty humid, glass, skin, my hand can grip a little bit. This just allows me to kind of move around the screen and kind of slide around nicely without having kind of sweaty hands gripping the screen.
That makes sense. It has been hot, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Those of us in Australia.
So I'm kind of feeling this pose here. She's on her phone or doing something. So at this stage, I will use a selection tool and kind of isolate that. So I'm just going to select it, Control or Command J, and make a new layer out of it. And then I am going to make this a little bit bigger. And I might redo my canvas as well, or maybe I'll just rotate this around like so. So we've kind of moved on. Usually when I'm kind of doing this thing, I'll get into the drawings a little bit more and get stuck in, but we could be here for days.
We are here for days.
Well, yeah. Maybe I should say weeks. But yeah, so essentially I'm kind of feeling this pose. So what I might do now is lower the opacity on this one. So I've got the basic kind of framework of that. I might create a new layer. And at this point, you'll see that I've also got layer 1, 2, 3. So in reality, I probably wouldn't start naming layers at this stage, but in a good kind of spirits of like, do what I say, not what I do. Yeah. I'm going to start naming these.
Because you're on the record. Because I totally label my layers.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I'm going to call this one loose, and this one kind of just final sketch.
Does Rat Girl command legions of rats with just her mind? That's a pretty cool superpower.
It's not a bad idea, actually. That'll come back in handy. Who suggested that?
That's Festus, my boy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. I'll take that.
That's a good suggestion. I like it. He also asks, have you given Photoshop for tablets a turn or Fresco or anything like that?
I have, yeah. So I've actually, one of the things that we'll probably talk about a little bit later on when I get into like maybe tomorrow or the day after, when I get into coloring and inking is why do you not use Illustrator? And I've come on the live stream a few times and talked about like this idea of like I prefer using Photoshop. I'm actually kind of starting to transition a little bit more into Illustrator.
Wow.
Mostly because of Fresco. So
what happened over the Christmas break to you?
Do you know what? Like there's just basically the output, and again we'll probably talk about this on Friday. But
sure. Cool.
The outputs of things is usually vector, so it just makes more sense. But yeah, I gave Fresco a try on the iPad, and the vector brush is actually really, really solid, and that's just kind of made me go like, maybe I can draw in Illustrator. So my gripe, I shouldn't say gripe, but the thing is I've always felt that like, for instance, you couldn't do a sketch in Illustrator.
Yep.
You always have to do that in Photoshop or on pen and paper.
Sure.
So I've always felt that Illustrator is less of a drawing thing and more of an image creating thing, but with Fresco, maybe that's the good kind of missing link in between the two where I can start messing around. But anyways, we'll talk about that a little bit later.
Chapter 2.
So I've got this main sketch. I'm using brushes here that, by the way, I have downloaded from...
I was going to ask you about your brushes. Yeah.
Yeah, so normally I would use just your standard brushes in Photoshop, but here I'm using this guy called Frendon, who is an illustrator himself, pretty talented illustrator, as you can probably tell. He sells brushes, and they're just really solid for what I need. Carl T. Webster also is a really good resource for that. It just so happens that this guy has like the exact brush that I need to do the thing that I want to do.
Very specific.
Yeah, it
brush,
is.
yeah.
And I think it definitely is that thing where you need to be super specific. If I can show you actually just quickly, if you're not super keen on downloading brushes and you want that kind of pencil look for your sketches like this, I'll show you a quick little hack that you can do to create your own brush from like a pencil brush that works quite well from the stuff that's already in Photoshop.
Cool.
So where are my brushes? Here we go. So we've got general brushes. Where are we? Has everything changed? No, nothing's changed. Cool. So we've got this brush here, which kind of looks like, if I go a little bit bigger.
The wet sponge.
Yeah, it looks like just kind of like a weird rectangular sponge. So I'm just going to use that. I'm going to boost the spacing. And I'm also going to go into the shape dynamics and give it an angle jitter. And then I might go back into the tip shape and just reduce that. So it's not going to be the best one, but it's going to give it a kind of nice, natural kind of look and feel. Also, hot tip, if you are looking to create pencil, don't go with black. Pencil lead is not black.
Right.
Pencil lead is this kind of like warm, grey, yellowy kind of color. It's just going to make your drawing looks a lot like, if you're going for that pencil look,
right,
way better to go with that kind of a color than just a pure black. So yeah.
People are talking about their favorite manga and Japanimation, I suppose.
Yeah.
We've got some One Punch Man, Full Metal Alchemist in there. What about yourself? Dragon Ball Z fan, I think.
I'm a Dragon Ball Z fan. I'm also a Saint Seiya fan, Dr. Slump, like a lot of Akira Toriyama basically, but yeah, it's that kind of like the quirkiness as well and the expressiveness, like ironically using mostly just black and white where I tend to use a lot more color.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's just something really cool about that vibe and the pop culture aspects of it and everything else, so yeah.
I'm with you.
All right, so I'm going to start doing this sketch a little bit more detailed. At this stage, if you guys have any kind of random questions you want to ask as well, go for it, because I'm pretty much just going to be in my own little world for a little bit. Also, I'm using blue, and you'll notice that a lot of people will tend to use blue for the sketch. It's an old animator thing.
Like the blue lines, right?
Yeah, so the blue sketch means that it doesn't, like, it's an old trick that animators used to use back in the days of line testers, which was literally just a camera photographing in black and white the drawings, and then you would shoot those drawings one after the other quite fast, and you would get the animation. The blue pencil on black and white wouldn't show at all.
Right.
So
you could just leave it in.
Yeah, so if you did a blue sketch and then you went over it with a black pencil with a clean line, you wouldn't have to erase the blue because it just wouldn't show on the line tester. So it's just one of those things that's kind of stuck and kind of a lot of people will use these days. It's also really good because, again, like I am going to then go over this with black lines, and it just means that I can see what I'm doing a little bit better than if it was black on black.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Festus was asking, did you design the t-shirt that you're wearing?
I did, yeah. Yeah. I'm in the process of doing a bunch of stuff. Like it's always seems to be the case, like always in the process of doing things and like never actually doing them.
20 projects in the year.
Essentially.
Yeah.
And I've got an online store on my website as well where I will be kind of selling these. So yeah, it's just that one's not super live yet. We'll get there.
I think I have a Goro's t-shirt that I've lined up. washed and ready to go to wear at tomorrow's live stream, which is also a Jeremy Lord original. Very exciting. I noticed that you were doing some more painting with our friend Jezri.
Yeah.
Recently, so you do some mural work as well.
Well, so he does a lot of murals. I'm trying to get into murals.
Yeah. I've seen you do quite a bit over the past.
Yeah, so I've got one coming up with Goro's pretty soon, which will be, again, like manga influenced. Surprise, surprise. Yeah. So it's just, again, like trying to get the jobs that you want to get and getting the people who know how to do it already to help you out and show you kind of the ropes a little bit.
Right.
But yeah, like talking about on that topic, like one of the reasons I get a lot of work with this Japanese bar Goro's is because like they're a Japanese bar, but they're very kind of like pop culture manga influenced.
Yeah.
And so it makes sense for us to work together on briefs. And I think that's probably one of the biggest tips that I would give people kind of starting out and looking to get more work is find the clients who you would like to work for. Find the ones that are more likely to give you that work and the work that you kind of want to do. And then, yeah, just hit them up and show them your body of work rather than just kind of carpet bombing everybody and just like, here's what I do. Like the kind of stuff that I do myself would not be at all appropriate or fit if I was hitting up like, I don't know, if my dream company to work with was like Kellogg's breakfast cereal or something. It's like, they're not going to make a manga cereal. They're not going to make a Japanese cereal. They might.
It's unlikely.
Yeah. So like, like brands that revolve around that universe that are likely to see my work and connect with it, but also that I'm going to enjoy working on. I think that's the other important thing is you want to enjoy doing what you're doing because you're going to be doing it for a while. If you're an illustrator, it's going to be long hours.
Yeah.
So
better enjoy it.
Yeah, better have fun with it.
I can definitely see like a Goku on a cereal box. So Kakarotos.
It's probably carrot flavored cereal.
Yeah, why not?
That's probably a thing in Japan. Hey.
Yeah, for sure. It's got to be.
All right, so we've got our kind of character starting to take shape. Starting to kind of put a few things on. She's got a bit of a bomber jacket. I think she's playing a Game Boy.
It's looking very Game Boy. Yeah.
Again, don't ask. It's just like these things happen sometimes. What's it got to do with the year of the rat? So from what I saw, the rat is like a symbol of thriftiness and success and ingenuity and like prosperity.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe like I'm thinking that probably the rat kanji, and I'll slap it on there probably later on, can go on her back. Might do kind of an old traditional Chinese coin patch on her shoulder there of her bomber jacket. She's got the collar turned up. Why she's playing a Game Boy? What's that got to do with prosperity and thriftiness? Nothing.
She can afford Game Boys.
Yeah, it's just like I'm a big fan of video games, so this is what I'm going to do. Kind of just deal with it a little bit.
Right.
It's my artwork. So like this is what I was talking about before with kind of creative license. It's just do what you like. So she's gonna be sitting on the moon.
Oh yeah, we mentioned the moon before. That's cool.
Yeah. So she, kind of Chinese Lunar New Year. So she's sitting on the moon. Why not? Again, like no explanation, just...
It's Rat Girl. She's on the moon.
Yeah.
She does what she likes.
Yeah. Oh, and she's got to have a tail as well.
Oh yeah, rats have tails, right?
Yeah. This one does. Little trick as well if you're kind of struggling with doing things. So I've done that. Hands are difficult to draw, and so now I don't have to draw the hands too much because they're mostly behind the Game Boy.
Right.
So easy little kind of life hack if you're...
Put something in their hands.
If you're not... Yeah, exactly. Something big that can hide their hands.
So it's a Game Boy instead of a phone, because otherwise it'd be like...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Also, like, there's a part of this as well, like, as you guys can probably see from my work on my website, I work a lot with lights and neons. And so this is going to allow me to kind of do a light source from the Game Boy that's going to light up her face kind of nicely and create a little bit more volume.
You've done this before.
Like, it's just one of those kind of reflexes that that just happens in my work of like trying to find the light source, that can happen. If it can be in the actual artwork, then that's cool. It doesn't have to be, it can be outside the artwork. But yeah, if there can be a connection to that from the artwork, that's always going to be kind of a little bit more successful. So yeah, let's get the hair in. Again, like I wouldn't normally just kind of throw this around, but as you guys can see, I've got the sketch underneath there, and that's allowing me a lot more kind of control over what I'm doing. I want her to be turned towards us a little bit more than that, so I'm going to do that old thing where the cross on the face, which I'm sure is something that you guys have probably seen before, like you draw a head and you do this on there, and that just tells you where the eyes, nose, and mouth is going to be.
Those look like droids from Star Wars.
Yeah, a little bit. There's actually an artist that I follow quite a lot. Is a Japanese artist called Hajime Sorayama, who does these like super chrome android ladies.
Oh, right.
Just absolutely amazing stuff, always with the kind of the visor for the eyes. But this is always a kind of a good thing, because trying to find the angle on a ball, there's no angle there. So trying to draw a face that's kind of looking up at an angle, like doing these lines is always going to be super handy. So it's just a neat kind of little trick that you can do. So she's just kind of turned her head ever so slightly and kind of looking up at us. And then I'm going to give her a big, that's weird. I'm going to give her kind of a rat nose, but maybe I can't. Yeah, it's a bit funky. Anyway, I'll come back to that in a sec. Her hair. And then I want to give her rat ears as well, because complete the look. I might just get rid of these guys because they're distracting me. And yeah, maybe give her kind of like, this is where, again, we're talking about like all the different things that I will work with and all that. This is maybe where the cyberpunk thing will come in, so maybe I'll just give her a little visor. And in fact, at this stage, I reckon what I'll do is I'll switch colors to a pink, because pink is awesome. And just give her like a little cyber visor kind of thing. And then I can mess around with big electronic rat ears. Again, this is literally just kind of messing around with stuff. And we can kind of edit this as we go and try and fix things. Possibly, one of the things that I will do at this stage as well, which is a good kind of drawing tip, is to flip the canvas. So normally this is not the computer that I use at home, obviously, but normally what I would do is I would program a shortcut key to do this, to flip left and right.
Right.
So what the left and right does is, now that I've done it, I can undo and redo at will to see what's wrong. So what it does is it gives you a new perspective on your artwork to see if anything stands out that's wrong, or it's too big or it's too small. Flipping the canvas gives you a new perspective on it, and makes you look at it afresh, and you instantly start seeing those mistakes. At this stage, I'm feeling like everything's kind of okay. It's probably not like academically human proportions, the most like advanced masterpiece ever. But that's not what I'm really trying to do here.
So it's just a quick little check.
Yeah, it's just a quick little hack to allow you to just check that everything's okay before I start putting in serious work in here and then realizing that it's wrong. And it's like, oh.
It's like the type kerning tip.
Yeah.
Same thing, right? You flip it upside down and then gives you another
And
perspective.
you kind of don't see it for what you're seeing it anymore. Like you don't read the word anymore, you just see shapes.
Yeah.
So this, I'm kind of seeing the image and my eye's used to it. And the more your eye's used to it, the more it's like, it's okay. If you switch it on it, it'll be like, oh, something's off here.
Right. If you jump out of your chair at your own illustration,
Yeah, that's probably a bad thing.
Switch.
I feel like I should have a rat in there somewhere.
Like a little rat?
Yeah, like an actual rat.
Rat buddy.
Like, yeah. Maybe I'll draw a little rat kind of sitting on her shoulder there. And that's pretty bad. Again, like, don't hesitate to just be ruthless. If you're not feeling it, if it's not working, then you gotta get rid of it. And it's kind of not working right now, but we'll get there. Yeah. So again, like at this stage, my workflow may vary quite a bit in terms of like what I'm putting in, kind of playing dress up a little bit, like try these shoes on and maybe these shoes on and see what works and what happens if I do this. And I'm not really thinking of colors yet.
Yeah.
I've definitely got a color palette that I tend to use, but at this stage, I'm not too fussed about that. I'm just trying to get this sketch to a place where I'm feeling good about it.
Yeah.
And I'm really not feeling good about this rat at all.
The little rat.
He's just not.
Didn't make the cut.
Nah. Gotta cut him. Okay. So. And again, like there's, you know, no matter how much experience you have, no matter how good you are at a thing, there's always going to be this kind of thing of trial and error. It's also probably a good idea, and I have done this and I'm not using it because I'm an idiot, is to go and get references of stuff. Like if
I was going to ask, if you're getting stuck with the perspective.
Yeah. So if you don't know how a thing looks,
Oh.
go online and find out how the thing looks, right? Like that's crazy important. I think a lot of artists kind of forget to do that because they feel like they should be able to draw the thing out, right? And that's just simply not true or fair to them. What have I done here? I'm just got to flip this.
Rat beer. That'd be an interesting flavour.
Rat beer?
Rat beer, yeah, beer rat.
How'd that come up?
It's just coming up in chat.
All right.
Yep.
So here we go. So now I've got something that's a little bit like easier for me to work with.
Right.
And immediately things start to kind of click together a little bit more, where now I'm using reference and doing what I should be doing, and things are a little bit better. So again, like, fortunate enough that pose is actually pretty close to the one that I need for this. And again, I might just sort of increase level of detail a little bit more.
A rat that brings you beer would be an awesome rat. That's true. It's like those dogs that open have you seen those dogs, like people have trained them to open their fridge and get them a beer and then go back and close the fridge?
I have not seen that. I don't
I'll
think my cat would do that.
Your cat wouldn't do that?
No.
What's your cat's name?
Kazuna.
Kazuna. Hey Kazuna, if you're watching out there.
She's probably just like, leave me alone.
She is watching, but she's not paying attention.
Yeah.
Classic cat.
All right, there we go. So we've used reference, and it's
nice. So that was
pretty.
made things a lot easier, right?
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So yeah, really, like the importance of doing that kind of stuff is a real thing. And again, like a digital sketch is there's pros and cons to a digital sketch. One of the pros obviously is I can resize stuff, I can erase, I can do whatever I want. Like, whereas if it's an analog sketch, if I don't like the hands and I've gotten to this stage, I have to redo the whole thing.
Right.
One of the major cons is exactly that, is it invites you to get to finish a sketch, and a sketch shouldn't be finished unless you're doing the line work. A sketch should just stay loose. It's just a trial run, and then you do the real thing later on. But the temptation with digital sketches is to like finish every single one of the versions that you've done and really get bogged down, and that's not really what we're doing. It's what I'm doing right now, but it's not what I was doing before, and digital sketch can kind of drag you into doing that a little bit too much.
So it's a bit of a trap.
It's a bit of a double-edged sword. So there's definitely kind of like, it's the Spider-Man thing. It's great power comes great responsibility.
Is she sitting on the moon? Yep.
She is sitting on the moon. And I don't know, Chinese lantern. Where should I put a Chinese lantern? Should I put some firecrackers in? What else should I put in here?
Let's ask chat. So what should we throw in? We've got
Yeah.
So
So I've got a little kind of like Chinese firecracker string that I could put in there. Comes in like that, and it's all just kind of blowing up. I don't know why it would be tied to a tail. That seems a bit mean. Do I put a Chinese lantern in? Like
we're not putting firecrackers on the tail.
Sorry, rat girl.
Sorry, rat girl. And then the other one was there was a lantern and
lantern, Chinese firecrackers, or suggestions from the internet from people who know far more about Chinese culture than I do.
Cool.
Potentially.
All right, throw some questions in. We'll have a bit of a Q&A here because there were some questions in there. I thought we'd wait until we have a little bit of a break.
Yep.
So we'll give your wrist a little bit of a break here. So someone was asking, like, what illustrators are out there right now that, or I guess also in the past, that maybe aren't active anymore, but that you look towards. Like, who do you check out, other than just your entire Instagram feed every single day?
Mostly just myself. No. I think that question always needs to be kind of like answered a little bit like a politician. It's just like it's not that simple.
Right. Okay. You're going to answer my question with a question here.
I'm going to answer it with it depends.
Right.
Basically, there's a bunch of artists of work that I look at. What then happens in my brain varies from what I'm trying to do. Right. So there are people whose work I follow because it's quite similar to mine.
Right.
And that they give me ideas and inspiration. There are people whose work I look at which is vastly different to mine that I would either not be able to do or just not do because it's just not what I do. Yeah. So that's that question of like who inspires you, I guess. It's like, well, certain people I look at their work and then it goes kind of I feed off of that and I put some of that into my work. Other people's work is just like, that's really cool. It's not what I would do, but it just kind of feeds my creative curiosity, I guess. Right. But in the former, it's definitely people like Shohei Otomo, who is Katsushiro Otomo's son. So for those of you guys out there who know, he's the guy who made Akira.
Oh, wow, okay.
And his work is stylistically very, very different to mine in that he uses pencils and inks and is very photorealistic. But the themes that he uses of kind of like old and new in Japanese sculpture specifically, with him because he is Japanese, is something that I try and do in my work quite a bit. So it's not always super obvious in my work, but the 80s colors with the new kind of mediums. Sometimes it's really plainly obvious, like I'll take a geisha, which is like super traditional, super old traditional culture, and throw some like Air Jordans on her or whatever, like bring that into modern pop culture. So sometimes it's really overt, sometimes it's a little bit more subtle. But it's definitely something that I really like to work with, these kind of like cyberpunk with Edo period Japan. Let's mash the two together and see what happens. And his work kind of revolves around that a little bit as well. People like, I always forget his actual name, I always go by the Instagram name, blame Instagram. There's a guy called 3i Takashi who works exclusively in Illustrator. Very kind of similar visually to my work, but yeah, some really, really cool stuff that he does. Again, a little bit kind of pop manga influences in there. And then, all the big sort of manga authors like Akira Toriyama, like just looking at how they're drawing.
Cool. Very good. Chad was asking, what would you call your style? Do you have a name for it? It's a tough one.
Tiger style.
Tiger style. Rat style.
I guess, I mean, like, as in, like, is it impressionism or is it like that kind of thing? As in, is that what we're kind of looking at?
You can answer it however you like.
So as artists, one of the things that we're relatively frequently asked to do is to write a bio, which is just like, please no.
It's the hardest thing to do, isn't it?
It is. It's very difficult to do for some reason, and it's actually quite annoying to do. And one of the things that is quite fun, actually, if you're doing that, is to get someone else to write it for you.
Yep.
because they're going to be just that much more objective about it. It's kind of like logos as well. Like doing your own logo is really hard. Someone else coming along and doing their logo, your logo for you, they'll be able to kind of murder the darlings that you don't want to murder.
Right.
It's like, no, we're not talking about that. We're talking about this.
Yeah.
So that can be really kind of helpful. The point I'm getting at is one of the things that I've started saying about my work in terms of when it's described is like Blade Runner with Shogun Assassin. Is basically that, all kind of lit in Miami in the 80s.
Wow.
I guess.
Nice.
Yeah, so specific, and it's not really a style, but it's just like, it's not 80s
You could
style.
get that URL.
It's not manga. Yeah, I could do.
You could. Definitely.
It's not kind of like straight up one thing and nothing else.
Right.
Like it's not just manga style, it's not just 80s, it's not just cyberpunk, it's just all the things in varying measures into the blender of art.
I'm gonna go with rat style. Cool.
Rat style. Yeah.
So we're
Shaolin
asking chat for some ideas about what we should put in next. So Festus was saying 2 or 3 rats be parading around like a Chinese dragon, big puppet. So he was saying like, you know how they do the big Chinese dragon? That might take a long time to illustrate one of those very colourful, very elaborate things.
I think he saw me struggle with drawing the rat, and he was like, "Let's see how good you are."
He's putting you to the test. It's a pretty funny idea. Maybe for another live stream, like dragon, like with the dragon, and then just with little rat feet coming at the bottom. It looked like a centipede dragon. That
would be pretty cool. I might just do that in my own time. When it can take 17 hours to draw one rat.
True. Could have a legion of rats, like not a legion, but maybe like another 1 or 2 rats like parading around.
Like Pied Piper style?
Yeah. Or you could have a rat riding the lantern.
Could have a rat sitting on her Game Boy here.
Oh, yeah.
Am I going to mess this one up as well?
Do you have a favorite, like, classic graphics from Japanese, like the Japanese woodcut or Chinese illustrations?
I really love all of Hokusai's work.
Okay.
Obviously, like everybody knows the wave, the grey wave of Kanagawa.
Right.
That's one of the more sort of famous images in the world, probably all styles confounded. But I've been kind of looking at his work for a while now, and I had no idea that he actually also did manga. So manga is just a generic word in Japanese for like drawings and observations on life and cartoons, I guess, but not in the kind of the way that we got it. And I went to the Hokusai exhibition at the National Gallery in Victoria, and there's just these like pages upon pages of all his manga. It's just him drawing just people fetching water, but always in a really kind of satirical, stylized way.
Right.
And it just kind of like, oh my god, this is so cool. Like all the actual paintings that he did were sensational, but then there's all these other drawings and sketchbooks, so it's like things that you don't normally see. So yeah, definitely that would be a huge influence, which is weird because it's all very kind of soft colors and gradients and the like, and I use flat colors.
Yeah.
But it's the color work in there is just incredible.
Right.
Especially for those days when they didn't have like Photoshop, where it's just like 56 million colors that you can use. 256 million colors really. The vividness of the colors that they were able to achieve and like how they went about doing it is pretty insane.
Very cool. Bruce Lee with rat nunchucks. What's that movie? Is it Kung Pao? He does that with the gerbils or something? It's crazy.
I keep thinking of Master Splinter.
Right.
Doing this.
Yeah, it'd be hard not to just draw Splinter.
Yeah.
He's kind of like, I mean, he's 80s obviously. He's kind of pretty trendy,
and it's
dude.
like it's pop culture.
It's pop culture.
Like it definitely fits with kind of the stuff that I would do. But yeah, again, like in another life, in another parallel universe, there is a version of me right now sitting next to a version of you doing probably Splinter.
Right.
But not in this one.
Split the timeline when you did that. We had a question. Did you have a nightmare client? Like, have you ever had a nightmare client? I know the answer to this. And how did you deal with it? The nightmare client can't be me. Damn it! Oh no. I think we've all dealt with that sort of thing, but yeah, like like you don't have to be specific. We don't have to be specific because.
Well, I won't be obviously. Yeah.
YouTube.
I have had more than one nightmare client actually, but the first one that comes to mind is just there's a client. We were working on a relatively straightforward job, so I thought, and it just turned into a nightmare. Pardon the pun. He basically just kind of kept making changes and changes and changes. And it's that classic thing, I think a lot of freelancers could probably attest to this, where you, again, like food analogies, if you guys have watched one of my live streams before, you're probably familiar with the fact that I'm fluent in food analogies when it comes to creative things. But it's that thing of like walking into a restaurant and not knowing what you want to order. And then, so you just go and order a thing, and then you take a bite out of it, and you're like, no, that's not what I wanted. I don't want that. And you send it, and you order another thing, and it's like, and then there's only one thing that you've actually ended up eating, so you feel like you only have to pay for that thing. Right. But actually, you got the chef to make the entire menu for you, so you don't understand why the bill is like $5,000 when all you ate at the end of the day was just the pizza. Right. Yeah, but I made all these things. You didn't eat them, I'm sure. But so it is that thing of like, you don't understand that you're asking me to do these things, and there are a lot of things in Photoshop that are really simple to do and that are just kind of like, oh, look, just click on the button and it's done. But there's also a lot of stuff like if the client was like, hey, yeah, can we add a dragon here and like a couple of rats, like making one of those like dragon costumes moving, and it's like, all right, cool. Like, I wish you'd told me that maybe at the start. Right. And also you're going to be paying extra for that kind of stuff. So I think we got to, with this client, 27 rounds of changes. Wow. Before I just said, and my agent was there with me as well, just like, look, whatever version you get after this is what you're getting. I'll send you the invoice and we'll walk away from this job. Right, wow. And if you're not happy with that, then that's what you get. And it's crazy because, they come in and they do order a pizza at first and like, we really want a pizza. Yeah. And at the end of the day, what they finish up with is like a lobster bisque or whatever. And it's like, how does that work?
How important do you think it is to have an agent in that situation?
In that situation, it was very useful, mostly because an agent is there to back you up, to give you a little bit more weight in your argument against the client. Especially, I think, if you're a junior, you may have this kind of view that it's your fault for not delivering something good enough that the client liked it. Yeah. While that's not necessarily impossible, that can definitely happen, where like a client does more or less know what they want, and they're just not happy with what you're giving them. But there is always, I think, usually there's the fault lays on both ends of the table, where it's you're ordering maybe the right thing but not in the right way. Right. You don't know how to ask for the thing that you want because you're not super clear on it. And maybe I'm not completely understanding what you want.
What if it comes down to communication then?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, like, and this comes back to what I was talking about before, which was kind of pick your briefs and pick the clients that you want to work with. If I want sushi flavors and I walk into a pizzeria, that's my fault. Right. You know what I mean? Like, I can order a seafood pizza, but I'm probably not gonna be super happy with that because I wanted sushi. So it's like, well, then you shouldn't have come to us. Right. Go next door to the sushi train. Yeah. Like, that's on you, not on me. And I think there's definitely a little bit of that. And I think people, when they're starting out, tend to put themselves in, oh my God, I'm not delivering the thing that they wanted. It's on me. It's my fault. Like,
totally. Yeah. But after a bit of experience, yeah.
Maybe, but there is also a thing of like they're not asking for the right thing.
Yeah.
And I think there is definitely a case to be made for being able to tell a client, look, I'm sorry, I'm going to miss out on money here probably, but you've come to the wrong person.
Right.
We don't do what you want to do. And the other side of that responsibility is on the designer or illustrator or whoever it is to recognize that and not take on the job just because they need the money.
Right.
That takes a little bit of
that
spine.
Takes experience as well.
It takes
doesn't
experience.
It?
It also takes a certain amount of confidence that you will get more work, that this isn't the last job that you're ever going to be offered. So
doesn't it always feel like that?
Maybe, yeah, probably a little bit. Gosh, I'm really not liking this knee. So there's always going to be difficult clients. Having an agent can help you manage that.
Yeah.
If there's ever a problem as well with a client, in this instance, like what I was talking about with this specific client who was making change upon change upon change, they didn't understand why they had to pay that much.
Right.
When a job that should have been taking 10 hours took like 70 hours.
Yeah.
When they get the quote that says 10 hours, because I don't know that they're going to mess me around, when they get the invoice that's invoiced for 70 hours, they don't understand.
Yeah.
Having the agent there being like, this is how it is, they also have a legal team possibly behind them.
Yeah, it's like having insurance.
Like,
and a buffer as well.
Yeah, it's just like, let me get my bigger brother, and you know what I mean? Like.
Right. That'd be a really good idea for an agency name, wouldn't it? Just Bigger Brother.
Bigger Brother.
We got your back.
We watch you and invade your privacy even more.
So people in the chat were talking about your Xbox Live project in your Behance. There's a story behind that one, wasn't it? Because you created that and then...
Yeah. So through Adobe, actually, I have started a partnership with Microsoft, which is a kind of a loose partnership. But they have a really excellent team over there. And they, when these ones came out, this is the Surface Studio.
Yeah.
So this is now in the second kind of gen of this machine. But when this one first came out, they... I think I went with you actually to the kind of closed doors reveal of these machines.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I kind of did a test and somebody at Microsoft was looking and like, maybe we should get this guy.
No one tapped me on my shoulder when I was testing. What is going on? My line work was really sloppy, you guys. And then what happened before I interrupted you?
So then they basically just said like, hey, how would you like for us to give you one of these machines or lend you one of these machines, and you can test it out and let us know what you think. Yeah, obviously, please do. So they lent me one of the machines and I tested it out and I thought, all right, and this again cuts back to what we were talking about before, where do the work you kind of want to be asked to do a little bit. I'm going to do a thing here and I will talk about it in a sec when I'm finished talking about this Xbox thing. But so I thought about doing something that maybe Microsoft could use, right?
Right.
So if I'm going to do a piece on their machine, like maybe let's make it a thing that potentially their marketing team or whatever might look at and go like, let's use this.
Right.
So I did that and I really wanted to kind of do something for Xbox, so I did that Xbox illustration. And then I hit him up. What's going on here? I hit him up and said, look, I've done this. Do you guys want to use it? And I think we covered this actually at one of the Adobe symposiums, or I think it might have been Make It, where somebody in the audience is asking me, because I offered to, well, I didn't offer, I was prepared to give it to them for free.
Right.
Which is probably like a lot of alarm bells ringing, like, never work for free. It's like, yes, absolutely right. Never work for free. Like, if you're good at something, don't do it for free.
Don't do it for free. Yeah.
But there are those things in that stereotype of like clients abusing juniors by telling them like, I don't have a budget, but I'll get you exposure and I'll tell everybody that you did it. It's like, no, absolutely not.
Yeah.
But when that somebody is someone like Xbox, that argument has got a little bit more weight behind it.
Right.
So I prepped the whole thing that is now on my Behance and on my website, trying to convince them to use that on the worldwide packaging for the Xbox One X, which would have been like, that's proper exposure and a proper good brief to put into my portfolio. So I prepped all these things to try and show them, like, here's the work that I did and here's how you should use it. And they were super, super keen on doing that, at least Xbox Australia was.
Yeah.
And then it had to get permission from headquarters in Washington, Oregon, I think.
Right.
And they were like, no, this doesn't really fit with our branding, which is, I guess, fair enough. These big companies can't have each kind of section do their own thing. But then the Australian branch says, like, well, we really still want to use your artwork, so we're going to use it for our Christmas party to hand in to our media partners. And so they printed out these posters and used it for that. And I think that was a good example. And they ended up paying me as well on top of it, which was a nice added bonus.
Nice.
But seeing as I'd done the work out of my own volition and I'd done it for free anyways, the kind of the thinking behind it is, look, I've done the work and I've got $0.
Right.
So either I can have $0 and 100% exposure if I give them the work. If they say, we're not going to take it on because we don't have budget for it, so we don't want to pay you, so then we're not going to print it, then I still have $0 and I have zero exposure.
Right.
So it's a bit of a no-brainer in that situation of like, it ended up that I had a fair bit of exposure and a fair bit of dollars, but yeah, I think it's a good kind of example that I often kind of use in the sense of like, do this piece and then try and pitch it to the right people so that they might use it, and dress it up in a way that they will understand how it's meant to be used.
Yeah, but it's also not like all the time. Like I think a lot of the time when we're giving designers and artists the idea of like, oh, never work for free. It's like, well, yeah, like if that's your only stream of income, like you were doing it in addition to paid work, client work that you had going on. You're like, and actually, I really want to do this creative piece, and it's a good way in with a company I like to work for and a brand and all that stuff. So
and it's very much a case by case as well. Like if your dream client approaches you and says, we want to do your thing worldwide, but we just don't have the budget, that's your call. Absolutely your call. So what I'm doing here is I'm kind of jumping ahead a little bit. I've got the kanji for rat that I've done in Illustrator. I've brought it into Photoshop and I'm just going to kind of warp it onto the back of her jacket.
Cool.
And actually, you know what I'm going to do to help guide me a little bit more is I'm going to make a new layer and I'm going to put a circle around it. Because the circle is going to be the thing that's going to guide me a lot better than the... and I've done that wrong, actually. I'm going to make a shape. So trying to put the kanji on there is going to be a bit trickier. Trying to do it with the circle is going to be much, much easier. So I'm going to go to my ellipse tool and make my circle. And I don't want to fill. I want to stroke. Black for now is fine. And just boosts the outline. That'll do. And then I'm going to rasterize this. So at the moment, this is a smart object, so I'm just going to make it into a flat one. And then I'm going to resize it to fit nicely around that. And then I'm going to merge these two. Control E, boys and girls, if you've got two layers selected, Control E will smash them together. It's often one of the questions that I get as well is like, how many layers is too many layers? Too many layers is too many layers.
All right.
Yeah. There's definitely this thing with Illustrator, which is and Photoshop, to be honest, as well, but definitely more Photoshop than Illustrator. If you like, more layers is fine because you have more control and you can edit things better further on down the track. But there's definitely such a thing as too many layers, for sure. Too many layers means you're starting to micromanage. Yes, every time you want to do a change, you need to do it to 70 different layers. It's just not fun. Also, you need to name all those layers. It gets really tricky. Like there is definitely such a concept as too many layers. So we're just going to warp this a little bit to give it that kind of feeling like it's arching on her back. And sometimes I might go over this again with a pencil, with a brush. But in this case, I'm just going to leave it as is. and that circle. Try and not make it too potato shaped.
It's cool.
All right, so here's where like layers that we were just talking about. So I'm going to put a mask on this because I'm going to erase over here. So layer mask is going to allow me to block all this out, but because I've done a fair bit of work, well, a little bit of work to get that thing, if I erase that and I realize actually I want to arch her back more or whatever, I don't want to have to redo all that again, so I'm just going to put a mask on that rather than erase it. But there's plenty of other times where I will just like scratch it, erase it, it's gone.
And move on.
Yeah, but this is a little, this darling is a little bit more precious to me, so I don't want to completely murder it, I just want to put it away for a little bit. Yeah.
Cool. Hey, we had a question just in there as well. Logan was asking, have you ever had a client reference your work for another client wanting work to be pretty much copied?
To my knowledge, it's never happened to me in that order.
Right, in that order.
Yeah.
That particular
but
one. Not yet.
I have had clients come to me doing that to other artists.
Right.
So
they say, hey, we want one of those.
Yeah,
Can you do that for us?
And some of them are like pretty like blunt about it, where they'll literally just go like, hey, we wanted Picasso, but we can't afford Picasso. Can you do Picasso's work for like a fraction of the price? Which is a bit of a screw you to me.
Yeah.
It's not
like,
cool
ow.
for Picasso as well.
Right.
Like, we're gonna get somebody to copy your work, like you own your work. So it's just wrong on basically every
level.
possible level.
Yeah.
And again, it is, I think, a responsibility thing when that happens to be that person who'll say, look, no, because yeah, it's money, but no, I don't want to encourage this kind of behavior.
Right.
And it's just not okay. Also, like, I think from a creative standpoint, like, do you really want to do that? You know, like if it's not something that you know how to do or that you're not super confident doing, like that's not a great strategy for that. And also you're bound to see, in the age of like Instagram and everything else, you're bound to have that artist hit you up on Instagram if ever you put it on there.
Right.
Say like, hey, you copied my work.
Yeah.
And if they don't do it, someone else is going to see it and tag them in it and tag you in it and call you. So you're almost guaranteed to get called out on that kind of stuff, which is both good and bad. I have had friends before who's like, this is an interesting conversation actually, because it's one that I think needs to be had on a regular basis, because it's just not that simple as just black and white. So, for instance, my work, my influences are Japanese, right? Like, I'm not the only person by a long shot who's doing that. So, there's another guy, super talented illustrator in Melbourne called Andrew Archer, who does a lot of very Japanese things. But his are a little bit more traditional on that side. It looks a little bit more like a traditional Japanese painting.
Right.
And he revolves around a lot around basketball as well. He's a big NBA fan. And so him and I are bound to look at the same stuff in terms of references and inspiration.
Right.
So he does a samurai, I do a samurai. They're going to be very different because our styles are quite different, but there is these moments where Instagram will light on fire with this thing by either I'll post a thing and then somebody will be like, that's exactly like Andrew Archer's piece. Like it's never happened to me, but it's happened to a few people. Alex, who was on this show a little while ago, has that happen to him quite frequently. And a lot of the time it's like, no, hey, this is totally cool. We have the same reference material and inspiration sources, so we're bound to have things that look alike. Like a lot of manga looks very similar. Right. Because it's manga. It has to look similar. We're using the same cue points and same reference points. So
yeah,
you know what I
it's
mean?
Look like, a bit similar, yeah.
Absolutely. And so I
that's
think
the internet though, right? Like the internet can blow up. Like,
yeah, totally.
Like someone will show the logo for a bank, say, and then someone's like, well, in Prague in the 70s, there was a petrol station around the corner that had a very similar logo. Exactly. And it's like, well, yeah, okay. Like, I don't know why I called out Prague. Anyone from Prague? But yeah, it could be some obscure place. And someone always finds it. Someone always digs it up and sort of says, well, they use the same A. It's like, well, it's the same alphabet. Yeah, exactly. It's this. Well, an A is an A, so all A's are going to look the same, right? A is an A. There's that with the Beats by Dre logo. Oh, right.
Like British paints. There's like a million logos that look exactly like it.
Yeah.
And it's like you have to imagine that the people who designed that logo would have seen that and then gotten their legal team involved or whatever. But there is definitely like, when does inspiration, having the same source material, become plagiarism?
Right.
And when should it be called out, and when should it be left alone as just, we have similar work?
Yeah.
End of story.
Yeah.
Let's leave it at that. And
yes, it's subjective for a lot of people, right? So
it is, yeah. But as you said, like the age of the internet, I think people love a good troll and a good whinge about something, and so
cancel culture.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always going to be those people who are just going to say like, plagiarism, I found it out, tag everybody, light the world on fire, and move on.
So maybe we can have a bit of a sense check in terms of updating. So this is part 1 of 3 parts, right? So we're doing our line work.
Yeah.
Year of the Rat.
Yep.
We've gone from brief from us here at Adobe to get you to draw some Lunar New Year stuff.
Yep.
We've come in, we've got some reference material that you brought in. We're doing some Year of the Rat. We've got Rat Girl, 2 individual rats. She's sitting on a moon. So what's the next kind of step? So what's happening kind of tomorrow? Where do you want to get?
Okay, so tomorrow, at this stage, I would probably spend a little bit more time finalizing this sketch, right? So there's stuff like this, like her hand here, that's kind of a little bit busted and not fully figured out. So I have varying levels of patience with this kind of stuff. And what I mean by that is there's been plenty of times where I've gone, that's good enough, I've got the sketch, and we get the idea from what we're seeing here, right?
Yeah.
So cool, move on to the line work. But this is a little bit too much of an approximation. And so what's going to happen here is when I go in to do the inking tomorrow, I'm going to have to redraw this, either in pencil on the sketch level or with the inks, which is a little bit trickier. So there's a bit of a balance to be struck here of figuring it out and getting everything perfectly down as you need it, and looseness of the sketch, and not necessarily because you want to move on, right? At this stage, I'm kind of like, let's get into the actual thing and see how it's going to look, and it's kind of like I'm bored of prepping all the ingredients. I want to start tasting things now.
Right.
But there is definitely this, like, things like that are going to come back and to bite me, and I'm going to have to redo them anyways. So at this stage, I'd probably just kind of like navigate myself around the image and just fix things up for me to not have to fix up later. And that means spending a little bit more time. So I have this thing, just as a general thing, where I have a tendency, as I think probably a lot of people who start drawing might do, is when I'm drawing something, I'll kind of feel like I have to do it super fast and get it right smack from the start, and then like go over lines a lot, and it's like, no, what are you doing? And I watched a documentary on Hayao Miyazaki, the guy who does all the Ghibli movies. And he's sitting there, he was working on Ponyo at the time, and he's sitting there and he's actually drawing, and all his drawings are just like, man, you are the world champion of drawing.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But he's just taking his time and getting the line exactly how he wants it, and everything is nice and perfect. And it's kind of like, that was a bit of an epiphany for me.
Right.
Of just, it doesn't have to be this like, oh my God, you're an artist, look how fast you're working. It's just do it and get it right. Like, think about what you're doing before you're doing it. There's definitely things that you'll learn how to draw that you can just pull off super fast, because they're mechanically, it's like muscle memory. They're just programmed into your arm and hand to do that, which can be a good and a bad thing. And there's other stuff where it's just like, you have to pay attention to what you're doing, and take your time and get it right. And I think that was a big thing for me, because up to that point I was always really just concerned with get it down and get it fast, and it's just, no, you don't have to do that. You can just take your time and draw it. Even that on its own is probably more of an economy of lines and maybe a little bit more accurate than what I had here.
Right.
So there is probably this point where I'll start just kind of doing those things. And again, with Photoshop, what I can do now is I can, if I really like this, I can just kind of erase that or copy it out onto a separate layer so I don't lose it, and then just bring that one in and rescale it and kind of mash the sketch together.
Yeah, would you do that very often?
I would,
If
yeah.
there's a problem point, like maybe the rat was before,
Absolutely.
you might just go, okay, I just need to be separated. I just need to focus on the rat.
Yeah.
And then sort that out and then just bring it in.
So I did this thing where, I'll show you, I think it's on I haven't put it up on my Behance yet because I just finished it, but it'll be on my Instagram probably. So what I'll do a lot is I will look at, I'll get references of hands.
Right.
Usually what I do is I get my girlfriend to pose, and I'll take a photo of her hand doing exactly what I need it to. And that's not me.
Shout out to Margot.
Yeah, shout out to Mooglepuff. So something like this, for instance. So this is something that I recently just finished. So for the hand holding the old kind of like Sony old school Walkman, and for that hand as well, again, hands are the kryptonite, I literally took a photo of my hand resting on the corner, and then I got Margot to hold like something, basically, I think it was a phone or something roughly the same size as that.
Right.
And then I would bring that photo in, like I kind of did with the rat, same thing. And then I would literally draw the hand somewhere up here, right? Like bigger or however I need it to be. And then once I'm finished with that, I will just bring it in and cobble it onto the actual drawing. So you know, again, that's one of the advantages of digital sketching, where you can just kind of, that's not right, but because the rest of the drawing is influeing me, I keep doing it again exactly the same way over and over again.
Right.
So let me just do it on the edge here and then bring that in, and all of a sudden it's like, oh, thank you. It works now.
Yeah, I can move on.
Yeah. Yeah, so then, I will also do this thing where Liquify is one of those things that kind of was a bit of a gag in the old Photoshop days of just like, oh, this is fun. You can make somebody's eyes big and massive or whatever. But there's the Liquify tool when you're trying to fix things and you don't necessarily feel like redrawing them completely. Like, for instance, if I want to arch her back a little bit more, that would be pretty simple in this stage. But what I can do is go into Liquify, and with the push tool, I think a forward warp tool, I guess it's called, is just do this, and I can literally just kind of distort the drawing to make her back arched a little bit more. Or if this leg is too thin, I can bring it down. So it can be easy to make something a little bit knobbly, because you kind of have to make the brush a bit small and a bit big to kind of fit what you're doing. Like, for instance, if I was trying to fix the bottom of this tail here, I'd have a hard time doing that without affecting the moon.
Right.
So there is a little bit of kind of give and take that you have to go ahead and do. But the Liquify tool is a bit of a cheat, perhaps. But you know what? The tech is there. Use it.
Nice. I just gave her more of a quaff. That was nice.
Yeah.
Good job.
I think maybe she's her posture's not great. Maybe a little bit too much arch in that back.
I've had our 5-minute warning, so if anybody in chat has a question for Jeremy today, ask away. And then we've got about 5 minutes, and then we'll jump out. And then we're going to be joined by Joy Lee. So if you guys are interested, please stick around. We'll be chatting to her, designer, illustrator, and artist. I'm sure she'll be back in. We're going to take a 5-minute break between those times, but now is the time for questions. So I got my question, which is, what are we doing tomorrow? Where do we want to get to tomorrow? All
right, so
tomorrow, doing colour?
Tomorrow we're going to start with the line work.
Yep.
So I'm going to talk about inking, brushes, all that kind of stuff. It'll be relatively similar, and I'll probably be pretty quick if I've done this stage right.
Right.
If I've gotten all the information that I need to get, then the inking is just a matter of tracing over the drawing and doing it properly. And then we'll probably jump into color a little bit tomorrow as well. And I'll start talking about like laying down basic colors and color schemes. I'll talk about choosing colors and what works. We'll look at the old 60-30-10 rule.
Yep. Love it.
And we'll probably start adding some things as well in there, just to kind of add some detail and liven it up a little bit more.
Cool.
Yeah.
Perfect. Very, very good. Cool. All right. Well, that might do us for today. So please do stick around. So yeah, like we said, we'll be back with Joy Lee in just about 5 or 6 minutes. This was Jeremy Lord, so check him out. What's your Instagram? So
at Jeremy Lord _.
At Jeremy Lord _. Don't forget that underscore.
Yeah.
Where does it take you to if you don't get the underscore?
I think we just saw it. It's just some random
just some guy
person. Sure, he's a very nice person.
Get flooded with likes and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, thank you everybody in chat, especially talking about the time slot, because yeah, this is a time slot we want to play around with a little bit. So if you're somewhere in the world, let us know. So we know, if you're finding value in it. I love that it's like 11:30 and someone's at home after dinner just up doing a little bit of work or just checking it out. It's super cool. So please let us know, stick around, and we'll see you soon.
And I should probably save this, hey?
Yeah, let's save it.
Yeah.
All right. See you guys.
Thanks, guys. Thanks for all the questions.